Hello and good afternoon. My name is Georgia Ann Hudson, and welcome to the fall premiere of our online series, Research Rundown, History and Genealogy How-To. Today, we are pleased to welcome Alabama Archives Digital Assets Coordinator Meredith McDonough to present Transcription Tips, Exploring Volunteer Transcription Projects at the ADAH. Our monthly Research Rundown program streams live the first Monday of the month from October through May, right here on our Facebook page and YouTube channel. Past programs can also be viewed anytime following the presentation on our YouTube channel. October is American Archives Month, a month-long celebration of the work that archives do to collect, preserve, and share our stories. Follow the Alabama Archives on Facebook and Instagram all month long for special content and online programs spotlighting our archival staff and collections. Before we begin today's program, I have a few brief announcements about upcoming programs this month. Join us on Tuesday, October 17th from 5 to 7 p.m. for an opening reception and panel discussion about our new exhibit, History Lives On, Preserving Alabama's Rosenwald Schools. This exhibit is now on view at the Museum of Alabama, located on the second floor of our building. More information is available on our website. On Thursday, October 19th at noon, join us for our next installment of Food for Thought as Sophia Bracey Harris presents Finding My Own Way, A Journey to Wholeness Against the Odds. This program will be held in our Joseph M. Farley Alabama Power Auditorium and streamed live to our Facebook page and YouTube channel. Finally, join us again next month on Monday, November 6th for the next Research Rundown installment. Archives reference archivist Kayla Scott Gerner will share information about researching your World War I ancestor. Today, we are pleased to welcome ADAH Digital Assets Coordinator Meredith McDonough to the Rundown. Meredith holds degrees from Samford University and the University of Alabama, and this month marks her 17th year at the Archives. Welcome, Meredith.
Thanks, Georgia Ann, and thanks to all of you for joining us. Today, we're going to discuss some of the major transcription projects our volunteers have completed in recent years, including how to find and use that information. And then I'll mention two current opportunities in case any of you would like to help us out. I am part of the digital assets section here at the Archives, and our main task is to scan selections from our physical collections in the building and add them to our digital collections online. We will never digitize everything from the stacks, but this really is a great sampling of content, over 700,000 items, and we add more every week. So if you've never spent time in our digital collections, I would encourage you to check them out when you have a chance. In addition to scanning, which is the first step in getting materials online, we must also describe them so that they can be found and understood. We call this information metadata, and here's an example of what it looks like online. We try to describe what each item is, what it's about, who created it and when, and then we also give some details about the greater archival collection from which it comes. In an ideal world, though, we'd not only describe these materials, we transcribe them as well so that the handwritten words would be completely keyword searchable. But we have a relatively small staff and a very, very long to-do list, so we just don't have enough time for that. Much like we'll never scan all of the archive's physical records, we'll never transcribe all of our digitized records. Instead, we focus those efforts on collections that would most benefit from the extra attention, such as documents that are difficult to read in their original form, maybe due to poor penmanship or complicated content like legal documents, or records that need to be searchable and sortable in order to be used effectively, like data in a register or a ledger. And sometimes we just want to highlight records for a particular project or exhibit or a major anniversary. When we select a body of materials for transcription, we generally rely on our amazing and generous volunteers to do that work. Two of our oldest and most popular website resources, the 1867 voter registration books and the Civil War Service Database, were completed by volunteers who came to the building and worked in spreadsheets at computers with paper copies of the records they were transcribing or indexing. It was pretty basic and not a bad process overall, but it wasn't scalable since participation was limited to people in the Montgomery area who were able to come to the building in person during work hours using the limited number of workstations available to the projects. So the Civil War database, for example, despite steady work from a team of dedicated volunteers, took about 10 years to complete. Nowadays, all this work is done through a user-friendly transcription platform called From the Page, and anyone with an internet connection can create an account and contribute no matter the location or time of day. For our first From the Page project, we selected the Alabama World War I service records, a collection of about 111,000 index cards with personal information about the men and women who served in some capacity during the war. Our staff and in-person volunteers spent about 18 months scanning everything, and we launched the Transcription project in April 2018 to coincide with both the centennial of World War I and the bicentennial of our state. To our great surprise, all of the cards were completed in just 3.5 months. Because of the accessibility of the platform and the reach of social media promotions, our virtual volunteer force was national in scope, and we even had a couple of participants in Canada and the Netherlands. As you can see here, this was a field-based transcription project in which we asked volunteers to find specific bits of information on the cards and type that into the corresponding fields below. We took all the data collected and From the Page, and we added it to our digital collections. And you can get to it now by clicking the button for the World War I service records on the home page. That will take you to the landing page for the collection. I would like to mention that as you're using these resources, you may encounter some errors, and we'd love to hear from you so that we can take a look and make any corrections that are needed. This link here will pull up an email address where you can send that information. On this landing page, you can browse the cards by county, or you can search by name or other keyword. From the results list, click on a thumbnail to view a card, and then you'll be able to see the original record, which you can download and save for your own files. And below the image of the card is the information collected during the transcription project. You can see that we did not ask our volunteers to transcribe all the fields on the card because we were trying to keep the project simple. We focused on the consistently structured fields that we thought would be the most useful for searching, though in retrospect, I do wish we'd added a few more to the project. I also want to mention this See Also field. While scanning, we realized that some people had multiple cards in the collection and that their names were not always written the same way. This field attempts to tie together different variations of a person's name so that researchers have an opportunity to see all the cards that are relevant to their search. In addition to the basic search box, you can perform an advanced search to refine the parameters and get more specific results. So let's say you want to look for people with the last name of Jefferson. You could type that word in the simple search box and get some good results, but you'd also get all of the people from Jefferson County, no matter their surname, because that word appears in all of those records too. The advanced search lets you put terms in specific fields. Just choose the correct fields from the drop-down list before entering your keyword. And you can also add another line if you want to search for more than one field at a time. So in this example, we will pull up records only for people who have the last name of Jefferson and are from Dallas County. There are only 2 cards that fit that description in the entire collection. If we had just typed Dallas and Jefferson in the basic search box, we'd have gotten a lot more results, most of which would not have been what we were looking for. Thanks to the advanced search, you can take that time you would have wasted wading through irrelevant entries and use it to explore the correct records instead. Following our success with the World War I cards, we decided to digitize and transcribe a separate but similar collection of service records. The Alabama Active Military Service records consist mostly of home address reports, which were sent by enlisted people to their local selective service boards. The cards date from 1940 to 1966, so this is World War II, Korea, part of Vietnam. And while there are gaps in our holdings, we scanned everything that we have. As with the World War I cards, we'd love to know if you find any problems, and you can perform both simple and advanced searches in the records. Here is a sample card, which is also downloadable, and then the metadata that we collected in From the Page. Now, the 2 collections we just reviewed both used field-based data entry, but we've also hosted several traditional full-text transcription projects like the one you see here, where users get a handwritten page and then a blank space to type everything they see. We hosted our first major full-text project in early 2020. That year marked the centennial of the 19th Amendment, and the archives calendar was full of special events, exhibits, and activities to commemorate the anniversary. But of course, nothing went according to plan in 2020, and most things had to be postponed. So at the start of the pandemic, in an effort to stay connected with our users and give people a pleasant and gratifying distraction, we uploaded documents written by Alabama women, such as letters, diaries, and even the medical exam that you see here, which was completed by Hallie Dillon, an African-American woman who was the first woman licensed to practice medicine in Alabama. All of the women's history documents live in our textual materials collection. Unlike the two card collections, the transcriptions for these documents are not searchable through the box at the top right of the page. Instead, you'll get to those by going straight to the original resources. So I'll select a set of records from the search results, and then choose a letter from the list to the right, and then click the green View button to open up the full document. In the PDF view, scroll to the bottom of the document to see the transcription. Though you can't search the transcription at the collection level, you can search within the document itself. Click the magnifying glass and enter your search term, and then that text will be highlighted within the document. Back on the results page, let's look at a different type of document, this time a diary. Given the length of this work, we uploaded the complete transcription on its own. So again, click View to open that up. And then you can read or search all 134 pages of the diary's transcription at once. A moment ago, I mentioned that in textual materials where we are, you can't search transcriptions at the collection level using the box at the top right of the page. And that's because most of the documents in this collection have not been transcribed, and we don't want to give our users the wrong expectations for what they'll find here. But if a transcription is available for a particular document, we do try to add a note in the description to let you know that. And finally, I'm excited to introduce our latest completed transcription project, the 1875 voter registration books. Earlier, I mentioned the 1867 books, which documented the first time African-American men were registered to vote in the state. The 1875 books are at the other end of that period. At that time, men were preparing to vote on whether or not to hold a new state constitutional convention. That measure was approved, and the resulting document essentially ended Reconstruction in Alabama. So both of these collections are bookends to a brief but significant period in the state's history. For this project, we employed a new spreadsheet-style data entry in From the Page, an enhancement that we helped fund along with several other state archives in the country. Earlier this year, all the entries were completed and then reviewed, and now all that content is available for searching in the digital collection. For these records, we basically put the advanced search boxes on the collection landing page, so you can enter terms here to find the individual entries that match your search criteria. As with the home address reports, there are gaps in this collection. Only 32 counties are represented in the 61 volumes that we scanned, but that's more than 89,000 men whose names we can now find. And that's all thanks to our wonderful volunteers. And now for the current projects. A few years ago, two professors from the University of Alabama approached us about creating a documentary edition of the governor's papers from the Civil War and Reconstruction, similar to projects that are underway in Mississippi and Kentucky. As the keepers of the records, our main contribution to that project will be the raw material. Our staff has digitized approximately 28,000 documents, which are now available in the digital collections. Initially, we uploaded them at the folder level with minimal descriptions, essentially replicating the research room experience where you'd pull a folder and examine each document in it. But since completing the digitization phase, our staff is now going back and adding item level descriptions, which will make the collection easier to navigate. We're also hosting a transcription project for these records, working chronologically through the administrations. Our volunteers have completed all of Governor A.B. Moore's papers, so we've just added the records for Governors John Gill Shorter and Thomas Hill Watts, and there will be plenty more to add after those are done. So if any of you are interested in this time period, these might be a good fit for you. Most of the documents are short, and if you come across one that is just too messy to read, there is no shame in skipping ahead to another one instead. And then we have our largest and perhaps most challenging project yet. We are digitizing about 500 volumes of Alabama Supreme Court case files dating from 1820 to 1877. These are a great source of information about early statehood, slavery, emancipation, and Reconstruction. And since they name so many people, they will be an excellent resource for scholarly and genealogical research alike. Each book contains multiple cases, which we are uploading individually. And for each, we provide a copy of the corresponding published report when available, since this is how most people are going to be searching for cases, as well as that standard descriptive information you've seen before. And several months ago, we launched a public transcription project for this collection. We are prioritizing cases in which African Americans, Native Americans, and women figure prominently, either as parties or as subjects. And again, this is standard full text transcription. We then import the completed transcriptions back into the digital collection. And since our ultimate goal is to transcribe or at least index all of the cases here, we have decided to make these transcriptions searchable at the collection level. So if we enter a search term here, let's look for the word freedom. We'll retrieve all of the records containing either that word either in the metadata or in the transcription, though bear in mind that only a handful of the cases have been transcribed at this point. So I'll select Wilson v. State here, and then we can determine where freedom appears in the case. Just click on Filtered to view just the relevant pages. And then you can scroll down to the expanded transcription, which is now above that metadata section we saw before, to see the term highlighted for this particular manuscript page. We also upload a PDF of the complete transcription for each case, and that link is in the metadata, so you can view and download the full text there too. The Supreme Court records are doubly challenging, not only because they are long and in cursive, and let me say the quality of the penmanship varies widely even within a single case. They are also written in dense, repetitive legal language that can be hard to understand. Despite that, several of our volunteers, most of whom have no background in the law, have really taken to these records because once you break through that esoteric vocabulary, there is a lot of drama and intrigue in the lives of the people who are bringing these cases to the court. If either of these projects is of interest, you can find more information on the Archives homepage. That's archives.alabama.gov. Just look for the virtual volunteer opportunities in the yellow box under announcements, and you'll find links to descriptions of the governor's papers and the Supreme Court files. My contact information is on those pages, and it's also here. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have either now or as you're getting started on the projects.
Thank you, Meredith. That was fascinating. If anyone has questions on Facebook or YouTube, please drop them in the comments and we will get to them. I've got a question to start things off. Meredith, can you talk a little bit about the review process? What happens once someone completes a transcription? What are the next steps?
It's a great question. So in the early days with our very first project, those World War I cards, we didn't actually have a review process because there was so much content and so few staff members available to do that work. But since then, we have begun reviewing everything that is transcribed by our volunteers. We have a few volunteers who have taken on that role because they really enjoy going back and checking the work that others have done. And our former head of reference, Nancy Dupree, has come back to us as a retired state employee, and she reviews everything right now. She's mostly working on Supreme Court and the Civil War and Reconstruction governors. And that's valuable because I don't want anyone to feel intimidated by these records. You know, don't worry about messing anything up. You can't. Just get in, get used to it, get some practice reading cursive because it's been a while for most of us. And then someone will be checking that work before we upload it for others to use.
Great. Yeah, there's definitely a safeguard in place, so yes. No pressure for anyone. We'll talk about the platform. We know it's open to anyone with an internet connection. Are there any restrictions, though, about age or amount of time someone can devote to any of the projects?
No, anyone who is interested can participate. You can feel free to reach out to me if you have specific questions, but We're always thrilled when younger volunteers join us because cursive is such an important skill that not everyone is comfortable with or even learning anymore. So we highly encourage young folks to participate. If there are any educators out there or anyone who knows an educator who would be interested in introducing a transcription platform project in your classroom, we can work with you on that. We actually have a project going on right now with a couple of history classes at Auburn High School. So we're happy to work with you to educate that next generation, to keep the knowledge alive. And as far as time commitments, really any time someone is able to spend on this is helpful to us. We appreciate it so much. So you can drop in and out when you have a few minutes here or there, or if you're really into something, you can put in as much time as you want. But no, there are no limits to that, and there are also no requirements there. We just appreciate so much any work that people can do to help us out with this.
Great. Well, thank you so much for a terrific presentation. If anyone has remaining questions for Meredith, she is available by email and would love to talk to you about getting involved in some of these great transcription projects. So thank you all again for joining us today, and we'll look forward to seeing you again next month.